Before we continue the path of transformation into a spirit being, let us first consider the goal we want to achieve. Immortal man, the man of the future. What does he look like? How do you recognize him when you meet him? What are his superior qualities? Science fiction movies show the man of the future chasing through space in spaceships, brandishing weapons like a cowboy. However, such ideas lack imagination and only apply outdated thinking patterns from the past to the future. Thereby, we do not develop a vision of a better world and a better life. The man of the year 3000 or 4000 will not only possess a higher technology. He himself will have reached a higher level. He will be greater, more beautiful, stronger, and more dignified than we humans of today's time. People tell you progress is achieved when your house, your car, your bank account, or your library grows bigger. But it is even better if you yourself become greater. How can this happen? By attaining immortality. The man of the future is immortal. That is what makes him great. The universe is infinite. Therefore, man as well can have no end. Immortal man, is this idea not worthy of the future? Man should believe in immortality. He has a right to do so. It is in accordance with his nature. What a wonderful liberation and elevation! The terrible, paralyzing fear of the end of life fades away. Now you are looking forward to your death, because then you will go over to a better, higher world. The race of the future is so strong because it has overcome death. A new life in the spirit of immortality is the way out of the misery of the time and the foundation upon which we may completely transform both ourselves as well as human society as a whole. The man of the future lives eternally. You are much greater than you think. The old mortal man is small and limited like a mayfly, laughing incredulously at the concept of tomorrow. The new immortal man is a cosmic giant. He already lived when this earth did not even exist. He will still live on when this insignificant chunk of matter has long decayed. The transformation into an immortal increases the greatness of man immeasurably. Eternity opens up before you. Can you even imagine what that means in practical terms? Above all, two things. First, your possibilities to grow expand immeasurably. A person living eternally has an infinite amount of time at his disposal. You may use it for a development, for an ascent which knows no bounds. If you grow eternally, if over centuries, millennia, and millions of years, you become just a little bit greater every day, then you can reach heights that are unimaginable today. Secondly, your possibilities to achieve something in this world expand immeasurably. A person living eternally has an infinite amount of time at his disposal. You may use it to pursue your projects without restrictions. There is still so much to do. You still have so many plans. There are no limits any longer to your creative power. If you work eternally, if you strive persistently, if over centuries, millennia, and millions of years you add just one small stone to the new construction every day, then success must come as soon as the time and you yourself are ripe for it. The old man comes up against the illusory limit of death, which he has set for himself in his ignorance. Thereby he deprives himself of the best possibilities. The new man transcends this barrier. The eternal existence of man is the starting point from which we can get rid of all our outdated thinking, unhinge the old world, and overcome ignorance, imperfection, need and suffering, poverty and unemployment. As an immortal being living eternally, the man of the future is imperishable and indestructible. That is what makes your superiority. There is no death. Your life not only has no natural end, it cannot be terminated violently or otherwise either. To put it drastically, even if your head is cut off or your body starved to death, your true self lives on. The life of your soul goes on forever. There is only one true consolation for the sick, the dying, and their relatives. The true self, the soul, is not affected by the transition at all. It only changes its whereabouts. Immortal man is like a god, indestructible. He is invulnerable. Invulnerable. He is invincible. No power in the world can do you any harm. All attacks against the health or the integrity of your body miss their target. They cannot hit your real spiritual self at all. The man of the future is completely free from fear. As an immortal, invulnerable being, you need not be afraid of anything or anyone. The fears of man are numerous. You fear the loss of health, of life, of relatives, of your job, of your possessions, and of many other things. By transforming into a soul, you overcome this weakness. As a spiritual being, you do not need all these things. Not even death can frighten you. The soul lives on and is as little affected by the end of the body as the rider by the death of his donkey. Exploit this asset. Do not let this wonderful treasure go unused. The first application will be you acquire complete fearlessness. Fear is the main cause for the weakness of today's man. On what is the power of dictators and other oppressors based? On fear. When fear ends, submission ends. The race of the future is so strong because it has conquered death and with it fear. The man of the future is completely free. As long as you regard yourselves as mortal, you are corruptible. You have to make all kinds of compromises when you are threatened and your transient personality fears for its existence. Fearing for his life or that of his family, the old man becomes a follower of even the most unscrupulous endeavors, and does things for which he must be ashamed. On the other hand, as an immortal, you can pursue your higher goals in all circumstances. You attain complete freedom of action. You become entirely independent. At last, you can do, without undue consideration, only that what you have recognized as good and right. As long as a man fears death, he is a slave. He who does not fear it masters everything. If necessary, you can seal the struggle for your ideals with the death of your body, your true existence. The life of your higher self is not endangered thereby. Listen how unworthily the old mortal man is maneuvering. First comes food, and then morality. What a wretched sentence! It deprives man of his dignity and throws him back to the level of the animals. It actually suspends morality right then, when things are getting serious. But principles that apply in good weather only are worthless. The new man throws his imperishability on the balance. If you play this trump card, you are able to unwaveringly and freely lead a life according to the highest ethical principles. The race of the future is so strong because it has overcome fear and thus won freedom. The man of the future is full of high dignity. Why is the old man so undignified? Because he feels compelled to suppress the voice of his higher self, just to maintain the miserable life of his lower physical nature. But your dignity does not lie in your body, which is always inferior to the physical strength and the great number of the others. It can be humiliated, damaged, crucified, and destroyed. Only as immortal beings are we able to accomplish our mission proudly and with dignity. Everyone can live with dignity, even in the most terrible circumstances. Your personal dignity must not depend on the ever-changing external circumstances, on whether you are well or bad off, or living in poverty or wealth. The race of the future gains a whole new dignity. It fearlessly and freely does only that what its higher self wants it to do, without regard to the earthly consequences. Its mantra is I reveal the divine only. The man of the future is full of vitality. Where does he get this power from? The immortal sets about strengthening his soul. He uses his spiritual forces, which are much more powerful than the physical ones, A great, strong soul can cope with all problems. The man of the future is always full of joy of being. Immortality is a source of eternal joy. For a creature living eternally, earthly adversities acquire a whole new meaning. It wants to become greater and realizes, in truth, the difficulties and hardships of everyday life offer the best opportunity to grow. If it were not for these steps, you would not be able to ascend at all. An immortal has mastered a great art. He transforms suffering into joy. Pain is not imposed by fate, it has a function. It alerts the body to weak spots or wrong behavior. When I keep banging my head against the wall, the body signals me through pain that I am going to harm it if I continue like this. Actually, you have to be grateful for this reminder. It is exactly the same with suffering. Like pain to the body, suffering indicates to the soul where it is still weak or behaving wrongly. For this too, the traveler on the spiritual path can only be grateful. These signs alone enable him to remedy weak points, to correct wrong behavior, and to further develop his eternal individuality. Once this has been achieved, the suffering will come to an end. Why? Because then it no longer serves any function. A great, strong soul knows no suffering, just as a healthy body does not hurt. An immortal knows no earthly worries. As a being of spirit, he does not require any material food, clothing, or shelter, neither for his survival nor for his well-being. To the soul, the concern for the preservation of its tool is of little importance, because sooner or later it will pass away anyway, and a new one be received. Let us now address the last property, which is most important for shaping the future. The new immortal man is completely selfless. When you have become a soul, you will place little value on material goods. You will have to give them up anyway when the body dies. They do not help you on your infinite spiritual path towards ever further perfection. worrying about their preservation and defense rather hinders your progress. Souls live simply, modestly, and undemanding, an attitude which reflects the dignity of man much better than the present wastefulness. They do not participate in the mad pursuit of possessions, power, and satisfaction of the desires of the body. Your higher self shuns material pleasures. They cannot satisfy a spiritual being and only weaken its power. The mortals around us smash each other's heads in order to grab for themselves as much as possible of that what nature provides for all mankind and of what all of us have produced together. We immortals compete to make do with as little as possible. For a creature that cannot die at all, the much talked of struggle for existence is a meaningless concept. It would never harm another soul because of some insignificant physical needs. Thereby it would only harm itself, its higher self. To the old, mortal, physical man, the law of the jungle applies. The stronger one robs or eats up the weaker one, and becomes even stronger thereby. The new immortal man lives by the law of sacrifice. In the rare case that there is really not enough for everyone to survive, that is, for all bodies, we immortals willingly step back in favor of our fellow men. A long earthly life is no value in itself. In the face of infinity, it is of no importance whether one single life of the body lasts a little bit longer or shorter. What are 10, 50, or even 100 years for a creature that lives eternally? No more than the blinking of an eye. For your higher self, it is better to live short and right than long and wrong on earth. Life is like a role in the theater. What matters is not that it is played long, but that it is played well. A soul loses nothing but grows when it sacrifices its body, which will soon vanish anyway. Your higher nature is actually thirsting to give itself completely in the service of a great work. The law of sacrifice runs as follows. Your soul grows greater when it gives, not when it takes. I don't understand that. How can one become greater when one loses something? To beings of spirit, different standards apply. Those who sacrifice their lives for a good cause are certainly greater in a spiritual sense than the oppressors. That is why all teachings of wisdom agree. True happiness consists not in having, but in giving. Thus, Jesus teaches, it is more blessed to give than to receive. The lack of needs of the new man is the basis for building the world of the future, a higher culture without greed, violence, need, poverty, and unemployment. The new world arises by itself as soon as the new man appears. The scourges of the present time that make life on this wonderful planet a hell to us are selfishness, the pursuit of money, power and pleasure, the struggle of everyone against everyone. If you think deeper, you will find the cause of almost all evils is man's selfishness. Poverty was not created by God. We have produced it, I and you, with our egotism. If we want to build a better world, we have to overcome this selfishness and educate at least our children to become men of spirit. We immortals are eager to contribute to the common pot more than we take out of it for ourselves. We are ready to share fairly with our fellow men both the necessary work and the proceeds resulting from it. This is what matters. This is how we eliminate poverty and unemployment.